town. Baraka Claus is coming to town. You better not work. You better not try. Get your hand out. I'm telling you why. Baraka Claus is coming to town.
Who's coming to town?
Baraka Claus.
Baraka Claus.
Baraka Claus is
President
coming
Olinsky.
to town.
That's good. Hey, no. On the 23rd of December, Tuesday, a couple of days before Christmas, one day before the end of Hanukkah, Baraka Claus is in Hawaii Claus. What's the deal, man? A guy blows out of Washington, D.C. This is only a $2 million vacation.
I find that hard to believe. Not
I
for
know.
2.5 weeks, and not if you take into account all the extra security costs.
Did
There's
the
no
dog-
way in hell.
Baraka Claus can make the numbers dance, let me tell you.
Did the dog handler fly to handle Fluffy, and did Michelle go with him?
They're
And,
living large, man. They're
Wait,
going,
did his wife and dog get their own flight this time?
That's what I'm talking about.
You know, because they hang out with Al Sharpton, from what we understand. Like 2 or 3 times Al Sharpton's been to the White House.
No, Tom.
No.
That's improper.
4 or 5 times Al Sharpton has
Nope.
Nope.
5 or 6 times Al.
Tom,
No.
you need to...
7 or 8 times.
Yeah, why don't you add a 0?
0.
7.
No.
8.
No.
Times
Multiply by 10. Multiply by
8 times 10.
is... Come on, T.
8 times 10.
Hey, T, you're embarrassing our people. Can't you do some quick
Wait a minute.
freaking math in your
Wait.
head?
8
Carry the
times
1.
10.
Carry the 1 and divide by
Yeah, but 8 times 10
And
is
you wonder
80.
why you can't raise money.
8 times 10 is 80.
Not,
Yes.
But you're not quite there yet.
81.
81.
81.
Al Sharpton has been to our house, the People's House, the White House,
81 times, yes.
81 times.
Yes.
Obama's been in the office 6 years.
All right. So 360. If you want to do, you want
Let's
to do the math?
per year,
All
right?
right.
80 and 6
360.
into 80. It's what, 12? 72.
13 plus
So
times a year.
once a month.
Yeah.
Every month, he flies down from New York. What? Every month he goes to the White House?
No, it's probably not like a once a month meeting. It's probably like a when needed. Like I'm sure during the last few months, it's been a heck of a lot more than once a month, Tom.
You mean during the time period which we are encapsulating our 2-part series called Cops and the Robbers,
Yes.
Bill, Al, Barry, and Eric?
Yes,
Barack
Tom.
and Eric, Cops and the Robbers, because these 4 people, the President of the United States, another name we have, terms of endearment, President Olinsky, in the model and channeling Saul Alinsky, to identify a problem, isolate it, target it, and do all the 12 steps that Alinsky says. Barack Obama, Eric Holder, black activist as a college student, Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton is a disgusting pig.
What did you just say?
Oops. Did I say that? Did I say that Al Sharpton was a disgusting pig?
Well,
I think you did.
Yeah, but
Tom.
Yeah, but come on, Tom.
I'm just.
That's a little harsh, don't you
I'm
think?
just quoting.
Oh, I thought this was you. saying,
No.
no.
Would I ever call
I was going to
anybody?
say, Tom, that's not
You know
very
me.
you.
Yeah.
I use a scalpel on enemies of the state, not a sledgehammer, unless we have to. What is this? I'm blue.
We're going blue screen today.
Blue
man.
man.
And I don't know what happened here.
Blue man.
You ever seen the Blue Man Group?
We've had that's kind of a nice color.
It is kind of a. I have no idea what's going on.
I do have the same shirt as yesterday because actually yesterday's today and tomorrow is the same as yesterday, but today.
Wait
So,
a sec.
At 10 minutes after 4 o'clock, figure that out. But Al Sharpton is a disgusting pig. Now, I don't call people names like that. I love everybody. I fight the enemy, but I'm quoting the very accomplished, I believe an Academy Award winner or nominated winner,
Right.
James Woods, the
Right.
the actor's been in so many different things. And yesterday on the 22nd, he tweeted out, Al Sharpton is a disgusting pig. And he basically laid the death of of Officer Lou and Officer Ramos at the feet of Al Sharpton, complicit in his incitement. And we talked a little bit yesterday about the legal threshold for incitement and whether or not Al Sharpton crossed the legal threshold. He knows what he's doing. This guy, in the words of James Woods, disgusting pig, this guy knows exactly what he's doing. If you just go to Google and look up Al Sharpton, you see controversy after controversy, death after death, disgusting situation after disgusting situation. And what does the hard left do to their
Computer.
to somebody who ought to be in prison? They award him with a television show on MSNBC. What does the President of the United States, President Olinsky, do with somebody like Al Sharpton? Awards him with a revolving door entree to the People's House, the White House. And what a mess. Cops and the robbers. At the center of all this is Al Sharpton. Our big idea, folks, here at the United West, is that the killing, the execution of these two poor policemen, Saturday afternoon, sitting in their automobile in the Bedford-Stuyvesant area, an area that needed a little more attention. They were getting some overtime hours because Officer Lou just was recently married a couple of months ago, and Officer Ramos, Rafael Ramos, right? I think that's his.
Yes.
Yeah, Rafael Ramos. Solid Christian man, had a couple of kids, and wanted to earn a little extra money for Christmas. So all they needed was a marked car in the Bed-Stuy area. Marked cars are deterrents to minor crimes of convenience or opportunity, like breaking into a car, breaking into somebody's house. Some scumbag is walking down the street. They see a marked car there. They go, we're not going to rob anything on this block. Little did they know that Muslim jihadi criminal, and we got to interject the Islamic component in here because our job, we're not a jury. We're not evaluating evidence to determine culpability. We're investigators. If you notice at the beginning of the show, Enemies of the State, our investigators. When we do an investigation, if a gun with spent cartridges is laying on the ground, we say there's a gun with spent cartridges. If there's a piece of paper that says, I am going to kill you or I hate you, it's a piece of paper, it's part of the evidence. If indeed someone happens to be of the Christian persuasion and they're in some Christian crazy group that has nothing to do with Christianity, fine. Or if they're in a group that has something to do with Christianity, those are pieces of information that come into the puzzle. They happen to be a Muslim in a Muslim group that is focused on jihad, as was Ishmael Abdullah Brinsley. That's a piece of evidence. Our job isn't to a priori exclude evidence. Our job is to lay all the evidence on the table. When you lay in these various elements, you see a black criminal who adopted, at some point in his life, more investigation going on in this, Islam, because he was in simpatico with some of the doctrinal teachings of Islam against the enemy. How do we know? Look at chapter 8 of the Quran, verse 60. Classic verse used by the Muslim Brotherhood in particular. In fact, a piece of it that says to strike terror in the hearts of the infidel, the enemy. That piece is taken out, written in Arabic, on the flags of the Muslim Brotherhood, on the flags of the Islamic State, on the flags of Al-Qaeda. Our big idea in this two-part series, Cops and the Robbers, definite article. We're saying that President Obama, Attorney General Holder, Mayor de Blasio, and lowlife Sharpton are the robbers of the protection of the police in this country. In a mere 2 or 3 months, all of this has unraveled. And, you do a survey. We got to send some people, guys, on the road. We got to send them on the road to do a survey. Are race relations better now that the Messiah has come in January 2009 to bring world peace and solve race relations.
No, we don't have to do the polls. The polls have already been done, and it's astounding that the polls from all the reputable polling houses have come back that race relations are actually worse. In fact, they're far worse than when Obama came in.
I don't understand how that can be. How could the great uniter, the great Messiah, the great guy bringing everybody together, is George Bush at fault? I mean,
If you ask Obama, George Bush is at fault for everything.
Yeah.
work with me here for a moment.
Well,
how could President Obama's reign, because he's Rex, remember Rex is law. I mean, Lex is law, Rex is king. He's really the king of this country. He now is using not only executive orders, but there's another thing. There's a presidential memoranda.
Yes.
Which is a sleight of hand letter that simply says, we're going to do this, and that becomes policy. How could a guy with this much strength and that much concern and compassion for integrating and overcoming the barriers in race relations have a country that is more divided racially than when he started?
Because he's a community organizer. He came down, and the whole point of black community organizers like Al Sharpton, like Jesse Jackson, like the whole myriad of all of them down through the chain, their sole purpose is to put blame onto something else as their problem. They never look inside themselves for any type of thing. And it's a money industry, millions and millions and millions of dollars. You know, like even Rush Limbaugh says, it's extortion. It's extortion.
Jesse Jackson with his Rainbow Push Coalition started the whole extortion racket.
Has he been? He hasn't been. Has he? Has
Not
he
as
spun
visible.
Up?
He's been around.
Well, I think he's a sick man. I think he has a stroke or something.
I think he got put in the pokey. He's been a little bit.
I actually think it goes way back when he got caught off mic camera saying, "I want to cut his testicles off." Barack Obama.
Obama's testicles.
You remember
right.
that way back when? And he got blackballed and blacklisted everyone since then. And that's where the Reverend Al took.
Of course. Why did he want to castrate Obama? What was
because he's now the new Messiah. He's elevated. He's the new black voice.
See if you could find. There was an actual event or something that was the catalyst for him on a hot mic. Him being Jesse Jackson, to say I gotta cut Obama's balls off.
Yeah.
You know, but you're right. Once that happened, Obama and his functionaries, actually, the staff of Obama, who view him as their functionary, that's really how the White House works, folks. You got Valerie Jarrett, Susan Rice, those two very strong women, Michelle Obama. They view Obama as their functionary to get their political ideology integrated into culture, into society. But something did happen with Jesse Jackson. We're going to look that up. At that point, the women said, he ain't coming in. You need a race-baiting black activist to be an agitator and antagonist. Who was next in line?
The Reverend Al.
The Reverend Al. So here's our big idea for this two-part series. We believe that the execution you saw of Officer Ramos and Officer Liu was the beginning of things to come. And you're going to see more cop killing in the urban areas of our great cities over the next few months. We believe that, and here's why. We believe the bad guys, the criminal element in America, believes they have friends in high places. Those friends occupy the mayor's office. The mayor of New York is a communist in his heart, a socialist in his polity, government polity. We believe the criminal element, particularly the black criminal element in the urban areas, believes they have friends in high places. And we believe the fact that the unfortunate killing of two black people, Michael Brown on August 9th in Ferguson, Missouri, and Eric Gardner on August 17th, on July 17th. Gardner died first. July 17th, 2014. Michael Brown, August 9th, 2014. Unfortunate deaths, both of them. Were these deaths the result of racist, black-hating cops who were looking to kill black people on that day? Absolutely not. 2 grand juries, one in Missouri and one in New York. You can't get any further apart in terms of the culture of Missouri and New York. 2 not tiny juries, grand juries. A lot of people looking at a lot of evidence, both said not sufficient evidence in these particular cases to indict either set of police officers, one in Missouri, 1 and 2 in New York. Not enough evidence.
Racist juries.
Right. Black friends at high places from the black criminal enterprise in the urban areas. And the black friends are the president, the attorney general, the mayor of New York, who's a friend of communists, let alone the disapproved and disadvantaged in society, and Eric Holder. The criminal element is saying, hey, if the leaders are going after the cops, what better time to strike now? That in and of itself is bad. This is our big idea that we want you to get across. You combine the anger and animosity of the black criminal element in the urban areas with 2 Islamic elements. One, the Nation of Islam.
Right.
They are now a subset of Sunni Islam, and they are angry. They hate America. Their doctrine, led by Louis Farrakhan, says they want America to cut a piece of the country out, give it to all black people as reparation for slavery 400 years ago, or give them an island somewhere. This is the doctrine of the Nation of Islam. You add that type of hatred to the white race in America against the police with the infusion of Palestinian activists. You bring the Palestinian cause as a cause celeb to the very articulate Islamic leaders in the Muslim Brotherhood like Nihad Awad. And they now have a front using the abuse of the police and mobilizing Muslims and black people in America in an effort to suppress the law-fighting capability of the police. Guess what? Part and partial is also decreased by mitigating the police department's law enforcement capability. Guess what component of law enforcement that Muslims want to see delegitimized, disabled, and mitigated seriously? What component of law enforcement, question to the audience, capability?
They're crime fighting, counterterrorism.
Counterterrorism. The reason why Muslim jihadis are getting involved in this phony baloney case. We don't have a law enforcement problem in the United States of America. We don't have a police problem. There may be individual problems with police. And according to the grand jury, it wasn't what the cops involved in the death of Michael Brown or Eric Garner. According to Rudolph Giuliani, by far one of the top cop fighters, crime fighters in the world. He cleaned up New York. Guess how many cops he put in jail in his 8 years as being a mayor in New York?
50.
70. He put 70 cops in jail, Rudy Giuliani did. 70 cops.
That ain't enough.
35,000 cops in New York City.
34,000 need to go to jail.
70, what did you say, sir?
34,000 of them got to go to jail.
You want 74,000. You know what? The race baiters and the Muslim jihadis want to see those cops all up the street.
Who a Muslim jihadi?
Now, what is that all about, that picture here? Somebody explain that. Well, I got a drink of water.
Oh, good God.
Mark, what is that? Who do you have there, Mark?
We have 2 of the most stellar individuals of the African American community representing the African American people as African American victims. And it is Reverend Al Sharpton, and to the right, the Jew-hating, race-baiting Louis Farrakhan.
Louis Farrakhan. You know, we all of us, we have many African American. I call them black. I mean,
I call them black.
I know.
Because here's the thing. If
I've
you're
been
from
involved-
South Africa and you live here, there are plenty of Jewish whites from South Africa.
course.
Are they African Americans? Technically, yes. African American is a stupid,
It's a stupid
thing to call them.
We've all been involved in athletics, and you know, I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. I mean, I have black friends from day one. Got them today. I mean, it's not even that stuff doesn't even register until this sort of stuff happens. I got friends.
No,
some of them are Muslims. Some of them are this.
I tell you what, Tom.
That.
You know what? I don't even want to defend myself anymore because I know who I am. I know who these guys are. These two low life individuals, and they're just low life.
They're the racists.
They are the racists.
Many of our friends look at them and despise these guys.
Yes.
Despise Sharpton.
Listen, remember we were listening to a local AM show before we taped last week, and it was an elderly black gentleman from the South Florida area on I forgot what station. The host let the guy stay on for a solid 10 minutes, and it was an elderly black man going off on how Al Sharpton does not represent the black community, and this guy could not have any more negative things to say about it.
What about Michael the black man down in
yeah,
our buddy Michael the
hates
conservative.
him.
Can't stand these guys. What about, don't say any names, we had drinks, non-alcoholic drinks, and cigars with a federal friend, black guy.
It says
not too long ago.
wherever Al Sharpton shows up, trouble follows.
Yep.
And that's the most purest definition. He brings trouble. There's nothing good that ever comes about when something's either torn up, burned up, destroyed,
or people die.
Or people die.
Crown Heights.
Now look,
Twana Browley.
You could it goes on and on and on. You know, we
Freddie's Fashion Mart.
We need to do 2 or 3 part series on Al Sharpton alone for sure. But we have low information voters on the white side of the ledger, and there's low information voters on the black side.
What you talking about, Trento?
On the black side of the ledger. Okay, yeah, a lot of them they buy into all his rhetoric. He was. At 9 years old, Al Sharpton, he was ordained as a Pentecostal preacher. You ever see those little black kids run around? That's a Pentecostal preacher, and they get ordained. I went to Bible school, very sophisticated Bible school, 4 years, graduate school, a seminary, and I chose not to be ordained, but I had to have years and years and years of an education to even be considered for an ordination. And then you have to go through the panel. It's like getting your law degree. To get ordained at 9 years old and 10 years old is comical, right?
No,
he was a little actor there, but he was a preacher, and he learned his spiritual life from the Pentecostal church, but he learned how to be a man. Guess where he learned how to be a man? Al Sharpton. Guess who he worked for? Who do you think he worked for?
Oh, James Brown.
James Brown,
hardest working man in show business.
See if you got a picture of James Brown and Al Sharpton. He went to work helping manage James Brown, the rock and roll singer, who's great. We all love James Brown. But now, folks, you can see a little bit of Pentecostal preacher with, hey, we got to have justice. We got to do this. I can preach it. Come on, Trento. Get up there, Trento. Hey, yeah. And those guys are good, I got to admit. And a little bit of James Brown in there, the rock and roll and the smooth and the slick and the hair and all of that. I got to get a drink of water. I'm working out today. But they go on for hours and hours and hours. So, oh my word, do I see what I think I see? Look, at 29 minutes after on WSBR radio, this is commercial-free radio. You listen to us for an hour, you get no commercials. The only commercials you get, we tell you where we're located, WSBR. We tell you we're going to Israel, and you need to contact Tom at theunitedwest.org quickly because the seats are filling up. And then we tell you that we have a crazy picture. This is a fantastic picture. Look at this.
I feel good.
I knew that you would now. So good.
So good.
I got you.
Bum, 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 bum.
There it is. We got James Brown and Al. Got to put that picture up. Let the people see it.
Let the people see.
TheUnitedWest.org
Cool.
and at TeaPartyCommunity.com. Folks, the insanity of anybody following Al Sharpton, charismatic Pentecostal preacher as a kid, rock and roll manager as an adult, now a community organizer.
Oh, you skipped a couple steps in between there, Tom. Okay, you skipped cocaine drug dealer,
FBI informant.
FBI informant. You skipped a whole bunch of Tawana Browley stuff.
How about the Duke Lacrosse? How about the Duke Lacrosse? Tom, you read me a quote. You read me a quote before the show started, where during the Crown Heights riots, he challenged the Jewish community. What was his quote?
He said, hey, you Jews, you want to get it on? Pin back your yarmulkes and come and get a piece of me. Right? That's just one of his crazy quotes. He was involved in the fire. Remember the fire where a bunch of people died?
Oh, you talking about
Freddie's
Ferguson?
Fashion Mart.
No, not Ferguson. Freddie's Fashion Mart.
Like you said, where
Ferguson
burned
right.
down.
Yep.
Al Sharpton shows up. Ferguson burns down. Freddie's Fashion Mart. Stuff burns down. He goes to New York. People start dying.
For our black brothers.
Forms a rally in the middle of New York. What do you want? Dead cops. When do you want them? Now. What happens? 2 dead cops 2 days later.
Presto.
He's pushing back from that.
Merry Christmas, Al.
I wasn't there.
Merry Christmas, Al. You got your Christmas present.
And that's why James Woods, the conservative actor, he's conservative in some senses. He's a Hollywood actor. Yesterday, on the 22nd, called Al Sharpton a disgusting pig. Now, what is our point? A couple of points here. I want to get back to our timeline because this is a fascinating timeline, and it shows the Al Sharpton component. We believe there's going to be more of these attacks on good police executions like there was in the 70s, if you remember back then.
Right.
A lot of this from the Black Panthers and the whole Symbionese Liberation Army. Why? Because the mood has changed in this country, in the black community, particularly the criminal element of the black community, the black gangs, the Crips, the Bloods. They see an opportunity to exploit the views that their leadership holds, that the black man in America is being attacked by the white cop.
Well,
false narrative. That's what they see.
Actually, let me take the defense on that. I'm a Crip and I'm a Blood and I'm a gangbanger and I'm selling drugs.
You can't be both. Sorry.
Well, whatever. I'm just whoever. I'm some gangbanger selling drugs on a corner. Got my pimps. Got my hoes out running around. I'm doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Who's going to be my enemy? The cops.
Sure. Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Who's going to hate you? Who's going to despise you?
I hope the cops.
I hope the cops despise them.
Yeah.
So who does Al Sharpton go running to say, hey, look at this. You don't need any facts, just emotion, Don't hands up, don't shoot.
Sure, and the way it works, ladies and gentlemen, is very simple. And again, we're referring to President Obama's President Olinsky because he and his team, Eric Holder, Bill de Blasio, and Al Sharpton, they're using classic, and you can pull them up, classic Saul Alinsky tactics of isolating an event, marginalizing the event, targeting the event, and the event is the grand jury nullification of any culpability of Darren Wilson being responsible for killing Michael Brown. Michael Brown was responsible for his own death, and they said that Officer Pantalello was not responsible for the death of Eric Garner. The grand jury said that. But these guys, Jesse Jackson, Sharpton, Holder, the president, all community activists. President Obama was a student who went to Occidental in 1981, hung out, as we said last week, with the left in America because he didn't want to upset his friends. Hung out with the left, then went to Columbia, quickly got involved with the hard left and the Palestinian movement, then went to Harvard, same sort of thing, got a bogus job where he worked for representing Acorn, and then he was pushed into office in Illinois, then pushed into the U.S. Senate where he never voted on anything. He was a community organizer all his life. He went into the United States presidency, won on a fluke, not a fluke in terms of the votes, a fluke in terms of who people thought he was. He's a community organizer. Now, the Crips and the Bloods see the community organizing of the world with his friends supporting white cop attacks against blacks, false. They're now finding a place in that whole movement, and now we see the Islamic element coming in, supporting that, and now Obama, Holder, Sharpton, and de Blasio have created a monster they may not be able to get back under control.
Well, and also getting back to the Islamic element, I mean, when we talked earlier about Louis Farrakhan, where does his ministry primarily go? It goes into the prison system. And then you have the Prislam, where you just get these people who are just criminalized thugs and animals and murderers. You know, they are following Islam, like our recent shooter in New York. What was he? He came right out of the penitentiary system. He came right out of the judicial system. He's Muslim, and he's decided to follow the correct Quran.
How about let's go back less than a month ago and let's go to the hatchet attack on the NYPD, which
Exactly.
was also another
So
Yeah, we
radicalized
kind of forgot about the
Muslim.
hatchet attack, right, on those guys. There's guys in the hospital and recovering from all
How
of
about
that.
the Canadian attack?
Once again, Muslim Louis Farrakhan. I'm not saying Louis Farrakhan is practicing a different type of Islam.
Yes, he is.
He's practicing a one that says activate yourself and get violent. Go to the jihad part. Kill Jews. Look at Louis Farrakhan. Right as we talk about jihadis overseas doing their thing, you have Louis Farrakhan saying kill Jews, kill Jews, kill Jews, kill whitey, kill cops. Boom.
They say it in all different types of ways, and the message gets out. And
But then they want to run from the results.
they want to run from the results. Absolutely. Well, that's why we're putting a warning out today in
Right there.
terms of there he is with
And you look at this unholy alliance of race baiter, the lead race baiter in the United States, Sharpton, teaming up with Farrakhan. It doesn't get any more. How much direct line do you have to go from there? And now, on top of that, you have the Council of American Islamic Relations jumping in on the game, getting on in the action, as we saw in Ferguson. Remember that, Tom?
yeah, of course.
You have the
There's an
Palestinian.
interesting story behind CARE and one of their angles on the whole thing. And that is a violent imam from Dearborn, Michigan that was killed by the FBI in 2009 on a raid,
Oh,
Lukman
yeah.
Abdullah. And what you have is CARE trying to tie in Lukman Abdullah as another unarmed black man violently put down by law enforcement. And so they're trying to make the link, not to mention Mumia Abu Jamal that killed policemen in Philly in
Philadelphia.
1981, I believe it was.
Right.
That CARE has been very involved with having him released from
And the
jail.
CARE component at 39 minutes after 4 o'clock, the CARE component, Council on American Islamic Relations. Hey, folks, we're constructing a scenario that we've been talking about for many, many years. And we've said that there's a variety of scenarios that could hurt tremendously the United States of America. And they originate in several systemic elements of culture and of the globe. One is the criminal component in America, in particular the black criminal component, because of the Nation of Islam. There's a larger white criminal component in America. There's more white criminals than black criminals, not proportionately, not according to the number of the population. Just in mass, obviously, there's more white people than black people. But the Nation of Islam views itself as the front fighting force of the black race in the event of chaos to lead the black people to victory. You infuse Islam in there, which is the Nation of Islam.
Right.
You've got something that needs to be watched. We know, and if you don't know, you know now, Everybody in the Nation of Islam is being watched by the feds for many, many, many years because of what we're explaining right now. What occurred since 2010 was the Arab Spring, overthrowing some Arab regime leaders, and the upheaval in the Middle East, to the point out of that out of all this chaos comes the Islamic State getting organized and coordinated. Now the Muslim world is saying, whoa, we can do some stuff. And the Islamic State is launching known wolves, not lone wolves, but known wolves. These are evil jihadis who are going out and doing hatchet attacks and gun attacks in Canada.
Running them over,
all of that stuff. Now we see the Palestinian situation blowing up even more. This week, Christmas Day, 2 days from today, guess what happens in the UN?
Oh, they vote for Palestinian statehood, or future Palestinian statehood.
What they do by Christmas, the Security Council, where there's 5 permanent members and 10 rotate, 15 in total. This Christmas, on the 25th, the Security Council has to agree on the date in 2016. How far away is that?
Well, I've heard it's been pushed to 2017.
No, it's 2016 as of this morning. Well, as of
Really?
yesterday, maybe after yesterday. But Stratford had it, and they're pretty good with this stuff. As 2016, they're going to vote. Now, we're connecting the dots. That's what we're doing on the show, and we're showing you the potential for tremendous chaos, criminal Islamic influence chaos, in the urban areas in major cities in America, and the poor execution, the very sad death of these 2 cops, Lou and Ramos, on Saturday afternoon, is just the tip of a potential iceberg, unless good Americans not fight back violently, but change some of the political leadership and simply reinstitute the rule of law like Giuliani did in New York. You want to have a protest? Fine. You have to have a permit. You have to do it here. You can't block roads. You can't do all these crazy things. You can't attack cops.
Tunnels, bridges.
Yeah.
You heard about,
hang on. On the 25th of December, the Security Council has to decide what date in 2016 that Israel has to leave the West Bank, Judea, Samaria, leave East Jerusalem, and go back to, guess what lines? It starts with a 6.
1948.
It ends with a 7.
1948. Because what they call the 67 lines are really the unaccepted 1948 lines that the, quote, Palestinians refused to accept. The Arabs declared war. They got their asses kicked, and now they want to go back and take what they refused in 1948.
Okay,
I feel like going to Gozi right now.
And here's how that works. Take a look at this. And all of this makes all the sense in the world. Hang with us at 40.
Yeah, I got a 46 instead of a 48 there.
44 minutes after the hour. 1948, May 14, 15, 2 different days because of American over there, was the recognition of the homeland of Israel being given back to the Jews. Kind of crazy stuff, but that happened in May of 1948. And there was a line, there was a boundary that was drawn in 1948. That's the 1948 line. That was a disputed line. The Israelis were saying, that's not the right place. We had much more than that. Well, that's what you're getting right now. Okay, if that's what we get. And they had very little of the country that they have now. Day one, they
were attacked by... what do we say is
5 nations?
What? No, no.
And then
with the aid total of 14.
Yeah, 6, and then another.
every Muslim nation throughout the world jumped on
either
this
attacked
and
or supported the attackers. Right there, that same day.
Yeah.
Well, so that war went on and on and on and on and went through whole various evolutions, and finally in 1967, really got serious. It was still serious, but really serious, with 6 or 7 countries coming in, others supporting. Israel defeats all those nations in a miraculous 6-day war. And The start of the 67 war was the same line that started 48. So now Israel has a larger area, but December 25th, 2 days from today, the Security Council, this stuff is for real right now, has to pick a day in 2016 when the Jews have to go back to the 67 line right here, which was really the 1948, the start of the beginning of the 1948 beginning to Israel. So it's a joke when you hear 67. Both are a joke. They're never going to happen. But what is going to happen is what? What's going to be the repercussions of that?
You'll have more fighting and chaos over there,
gonna be
and
tremendous
it'll
fighting.
spread to over
Ton
here.
of chaos.
And now
Here's a little update. Here's a
It's
little
going to be 2
update.
years of organization in the disadvantaged black community with the Nation of Islam in America in preparation to help free their brothers in Palestine. That's the narrative that's going on.
Here's a
right
little
now.
update. It is 2017, that's a relatively recent.
They pushed it back another year.
Yeah. Also, it looks like Abbas wants to hold the vote in the Security Council, knowing that the U.S. is going to veto.
Right.
So hold the vote until early 2015. Now, over the weekend, or maybe late last week, I heard that they'd moved the date from 16 to 17.
Okay,
It
so
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's going to take generations to fix the damage the education system has done to everyone
but
over
for
there.
Our big idea here, cops, the name of the show, part 2 today, cops versus the robbers. And the robbers are the President of the United States, the Attorney General. I can't even believe I'm saying this stuff. The mayor of the largest city in America, and Al Sharpton. He is feeling large, running with those homeboys, let me tell you, you know. The big idea we have is that this perfect storm of evil and community disorganizing is laying the groundwork for more executions. What's being robbed are the lives of the dear men and women in blue, that thin blue line that separates destruction and chaos from civilized order. That's being robbed in this country from the individuals who have taken an oath, apart from Al Sharpton, to defend the Constitution of this country. Good Americans have to wake up and take a stand, not violently by any means, against this, politically and activistically.
And here's the other thing of this is back to Rahm Emanuel's quote years ago. Never let a crisis go to waste. Because once you're paying attention to all this New York cop killings, Ferguson, watching Ferguson burn, what you're doing all this, you know, it's watch the left hand, don't watch what the right
Yeah,
hand
how many
Here it
IRS
comes.
documents? Listen, how many? Remember they had that Friday IRS document dump almost a month ago? Nothing about it. Why? Because all this racial crap is dominating the news cycle.
So are you saying right now, you're predicting right now here in the United West that Enemies of the State, name of the show, Tom Trento, your host, you're listening on WSBR radio, or you're watching on a whole host of websites, in particular theunitedwest.org or teapartycommunity.com. Go there, join Tea Party Community. This morning, a very dear friend of ours posted in Facebook and says, I'm leaving Facebook. Anybody know there's a good conservative place to go? I wrote back very quickly. Go to teapartycommunity.com. You got to go there. You do, folks. Contact me.
Facebook for Islamophobes.
It is. And for conservatives, contact me, Tom, at theunitedwest.org. For information about our trip to Israel, that map you just saw, put that map up again, please, guys.
Which one?
The one with the four variations of the size of Israel based upon the enemy attack and the ass-kicking that Israel gave the enemy each time. We are going to take you to those various areas. And if the United Nations is discussing these geopolitical issues as we speak, ought not you be there with us in March 2015 so that you can equip yourself to speak intelligently and experientially, having been briefed by some of the top generals and intelligence people in Israel? What a trip for $3,000. Give me a break. You got to come on it. All right, I want to go through this timeline because it's very interesting.
Thank you.
What we're going to do is I'm going to read the date and the general caption from Eric Gardner, whose situation occurred first. And then when we come to it, you're going to pop in. We're going to go back and forth, have a contiguous timeline. And you're going to see how Al Sharpton, looking at that timeline himself, said, golly be, me, a little Pentecostal preacher who rock and roll with James Brown, I could make hay out of this thing right here. On July 17th, 2014, cops approached Eric Gardner, Garner, not Gardner, Gardner, to say, hey, you can't be selling these things. Please stop. Come with us. We want to talk to you. He said, no way. He resisted arrest. They tried to grab him. He's a giant of a man. In the scuffle, he, through chokehold and other physical ailments, he died. On July 18th, the officer who grabbed him and his partner were put on desk duty. July 22nd, Police Commissioner Bill Bratton orders all of his 35,000 cops to take some sort of training on how to take down
Tom,
big
how
guys.
much does that cost to retrain 35,000 cops?
Costs a lot, but let's just go through this until we start integrating. Let the folks get a nice, clean feel for the timeline. So we started on the 17th. Oops. Hang on. We started on the 17th. We go to the 18th. The 22nd, Bratton is ordering retraining. On the 23rd, grief-stricken family and friends go to the funeral service for Eric Gardner. On the 31st, so it's now about 2 weeks after he died, Mayor de Blasio sits with Al Sharpton and other community leaders during a roundtable discussion. Commissioner Bratton is there. August 1st, the city medical examiner rules Gardner's death was a homicide. Homicide simply means homicide. Homo is Greek for same, side is for death. The same type of person killed this person, which means a man killed another man. And whether or not it was a justified homicide remains to be seen. He was just saying this was caused by another person. On the 19th of August, the 19th of August is after the 9th of August. So on the 1st, we have the ruling that Gardner's death was a homicide. Let's pick up with the 9th of August.
The 9th of August
in Ferguson.
in Ferguson, absolutely. Give me 1 second to pop
That's
in
when
there.
Michael Brown.
pops in.
Saturday, August 9th, 11:48 to noon. An officer responds to a call of a sick person. 11:51. Another call comes in about a robbery at a convenience store. That is the aforementioned robbery of one 6'5", 6'6", 290-pound individual named Michael Brown robbing the store. Dispatcher gives a description of the robber and says the suspect is walking toward the Quick Trip convenience store. 12:01. Officer encounters Michael Brown and a friend as they walk down a street. Brown is shot to death as a result of the encounter.
All right, stop. Now,
That's
Michael,
on the 9th of August.
That's on the 9th of August. Michael Brown is shot. Soon thereafter, now you go into the response from
Well, let's
the
go. Let's
evidence.
keep going. Let's stay on
No,
the
no, no,
timeline.
because there's like, go ahead.
12:04 p.m.
I don't come back to a timeline here until the 19th of August. So I'll
Okay.
take over at the 19th.
Just go to
Okay.
Sunday, August 10th. That's the next day.
Okay. Sunday, August 10th. Michael Brown, 18, was unarmed. St. Louis Police Chief Joe Belmar says in a news conference. So this is a news conference. Belmar says Brown physically assaulted the officer, and during a struggle between the two, Brown reached for the officer's gun. One shot was fired in the car, followed by other gunshots in the car. Brown's parents retain attorney Benjamin Crump. This is the day after. Brown's parents retain attorney Benjamin Crump, who represented the family of Trayvon Martin as their counsel.
And also,
Same day, candlelight vigil to honor Brown later turns violent. More than a dozen businesses are vandalized and looted. More than 30 people are arrested, and 2 police officers suffered injuries, police said. Now, let's go to Monday, August 11th. 5 a.m. The first day of school for the year is canceled in Jennings, near Ferguson, for safety of students who could be walking. 7 a.m. Ferguson police and city leaders say a number of death threats to the police force have been received in relation to the fatal shooting. 10 a.m. Hundreds gather outside the Ferguson Police Department to demand...
What day is this, the 12th?
This is the 11th.
The 11th. So he died on the 9th. 2 days later, we
Two
got
da-
death
yeah,
threats.
all right.
Now realize on the 10th they hired Crump.
Okay.
now, hold on. Now, think
All right,
about
we got a couple minutes left.
real quick. This is how it works. They hire the organizers, he organizes, and they start rioting. The same thing happens later on in New York. And the same thing had happened with Trayvon Martin earlier. The same exact scenario.
Okay.
10 a.m., hundreds gather outside the Ferguson Police Department to demand justice for Brown's death. Police arrest at least 7 people. 11 a.m., the FBI announces the agency will do a parallel investigation into the shooting of Brown. Tom, why did the FBI get involved?
Wow. I forgot all about that. They're not going to. They're calling it a civil rights issue, which is a federal issue.
Coming down from Holder. Holder sends
of
them out.
course.
It's a perfect storm.
But the FBI has to give a report. Watch when the report comes back. They'll do a very good investigation. You watch, that thing is going to be delayed until after Obama's out of office. The results.
2 p.m., still on the 11th, St. Louis County Police Department announces it will release the name of the officer who is accused of shooting Brown by noon on Tuesday. 4 p.m., parents and attorney of Brown who hold a press conference where they ask for a stop to violence and demand justice for their son. 6 p.m., community members and leaders meet and pray at a meeting hosted by the NAACP.
Now they're involved. Okay.
8 p.m.
So this is a race thing right off the bat.
Right off the bat.
Right off the bat.
Nothing to do with criminality. It's a race
It had
thing.
nothing to do with facts. Zero.
8 p.m. Several gather again on West Florissant Avenue in Ferguson, and police use tear gas to disperse crowds that did not protest peacefully. Now, this is again where CARE and the other Muslim groups have a problem. They do not like the militarization of our police forces. A lot of hardcore conservatives don't either, but CARE really doesn't because it might be effective against their Muslim thugs. Tuesday, August 12th. Early morning, police announced 15 arrests stemming from Ferguson events Monday evening. In addition, St. Louis County Police Chief says the name of the officer involved in the shooting will not be released due to threats on social media. 10 a.m., protesters gather at St. Louis County Police Department headquarters for a peaceful protest where a list of demands was given relating to the investigation of Brown's death. If you'll remember...
You gotta just hit the days. Let me get to 19 here. We're not going to be able to go through every
Okay,
hour.
At noon, Al Sharpton arrives in St. Louis.
What day? What day does he arrive?
This is Tuesday, August 12th.
So he died on the 9th. 3 days later, Al Sharpton's there. What took him so long? What, did he walk?
He must
Well, he
have.
arrived. He was already in the planning stages of all
was
this.
planning.
And Al...
Well,
is
now, August, what was the date again?
12.
12. All right. So that is right between the Garner's death being ruled a homicide and the 19th when...
And I'll give you a quick update. The protests started to ramp up, and they kept ramping up. And the police announced that 60 people had been arrested, more people...
So every day,
Every
12,
day, it's
13th,
ramping
14th.
up, because they're getting more and more people, and they're getting more and more press conferences. The news is starting to show up. Mainstream, CNN, it's all becoming a media event now.
All right, let me get back to New York now. On the 19th, so don't forget, July 17th, Gardner was killed. And on the 19th now, the 19th on my little thing here, on the 19th, the Staten Island District, this all happened in Staten Island, announces that the case against Pataleo will go before a grand jury. So now a grand jury investigation is initiated on the 19th of August. Grand jury is impaneled on the 29th of September, over a month later, to weigh the evidence. On October 7th, the Garner's family announces they plan to file a $75 million wrongful death suit against the city.
Why not go for the whole 100?
So that was, they filed that suit, and they have a right to do that. On the 21st of November, Pataleo testifies in front of the grand jury for 2 hours. His partner testified earlier that he had immunity from prosecution. So the guy who grabbed his neck, right?
Right.
Pantaleo, the partner got immunity. They do this all the time to say, look, nothing can happen to you. Rat out your partner.
Right.
Does he hate black people? Did he want to kill the guy? What did he say?
Nope.
So, well, we don't know. We don't know when it went there. But December 3rd, today's the 23rd, 20 days ago, grand jury decides not to indict Officer Pantaleo on the 23rd. Anything else on Ferguson after December 3rd?
After December 3rd.
Oh, we got 1 minute. I can't believe it. Okay. You said shoot, I hope you said.
I said shoot.
Okay. We don't beep you out.
No, I said shoot.
Yeah, we have Ferguson burning down.
All right, well, here's the deal. The Ferguson folks got calm. There was some rioting, but civility
got cold.
took over. It got cold over there. And then everything shifted to New York after this grand jury from the 3rd until 2 days ago. Saturday when the execution occurred. And we're going to have to pick this up after the holidays, after Christmas and maybe New Year's. This is a big story, ladies and gentlemen. We got to go right now. But the warning, the big idea, we got to get ready for more urban unrest and criminality infused by Islamic Jihad in this bizarre red-green alliance. It's bad news, but you have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow on the 24th.
Santa Claus is coming to town. Santa Claus is coming to town.
Yeah, got a little Bronco Claus.
You better not try.
I ride my
Get your
Barack.
hand